Hey guys, Ryan Bailey for Charlotte FC. This is Between Two Pints, and joining me today is our Director of Player Personnel, Mr. Bobby Belair. Bobby, how are you, sir?
Ryan, doing great. Thanks for having me on. It's always a fun chat with you.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. Let's get straight to it, Bobby. I want to know about your day-to-day schedule and how you're currently helping this team grow.
Yeah, well, there's a lot going on, Ryan. I can assure you that. We're in a fun period that I like to call expansion life, where really it's all hands on deck from everyone all the time. We're growing, we're hiring new staff, and we're trying to build a really fun culture in the office. So it's been great to get everyone back in the office and working together. And lately for me, I've been doing a lot of planning, a lot of researching, and a lot of scouting. So we're analyzing data from previous seasons, and we're working on our roster strategies constantly. Lots and lots of scouting. MLS is back in full swing. The NCAA tournament was ongoing, which was postponed from 2020. And there's always plenty of international players to look at for the summer window. I'm also helping out with the academy still with their team operations. It's been great to really work with the academy staff and be a part of the program that Mark, Dan, and company are building. The boys have a few more matches left in this season, and they've been in really good form lately. Always fun watching the academy boys, and so I'm excited for the remainder of the first season.
You're wearing a lot of hats there, Bobby. Sounds like there might not be enough hours in the day for you.
It seems like that sometimes, but it'll be worth it in the end.
It will be indeed. Let's talk about changes to the rules in MLS in 21 and perhaps in 22 as well, Bobby. What kind of changes have there been that might affect Charlotte FC?
Yeah, I think the biggest one is the youth U22 player slots. That rule has been rumored for a while, and I know a lot of fans have been chatting about it, and it's been formally introduced this year, so for 2021, and so we'll be able to take full advantage of it in 2022. So youth player slots are similar to young designated players, the benefit being that they only hit the salary cap at a certain budget charge. So that's $200,000 if the player is 21 or 22, and it's $150,000 if the player is under 20. So obviously it's a big advantage to be able to bring in 3 more players. Each club will have 3 slots, and you can pay them anything that's not above the max budget charge. So these players have to be underneath $612,000 this year and $651,000 for us next year. And then the transfer fees are at the owner's discretion. So the club pays that out of pocket and is not affected in the salary cap.
All right, well, it sounds like the league are investing in youth there, Bobby. That's great to hear. And speaking of that, how about the 22 Super Draft? How important is that for the team? And also the expansion draft. How important are these drafts for the formation of the squad?
Yeah, no, both are extremely important. I think you've seen Austin FC off to a good start in their first inaugural season. I think they did well in both the MLS Super Draft and the expansion draft. And I think there's been a bit of a recent trend in MLS circles saying that the Super Draft may be becoming irrelevant, but I think that's far from the case. We just saw Frankie Amaya, who was the number 1 pick from 2019, get traded for $950,000 in general allocation money. Another example would be Daryl DK, who's ripping it up on loan right now in the English Championship. He was the number 5 pick last year. So there's plenty of talent out there. We've seen plenty more examples of that. And we've been really fortunate that the NCAA tournament has been in our backyard, essentially. All the matches have been in North Carolina, so we've been attending those, watching some live matches, and really just getting a better idea for players that we'll end up focusing on in the fall season before we make our number 1 selection next January.
And looking at this season, Bobby, 2021, is there any uses of rosters and salary budgets that's caught your attention, that's piqued your interest?
Yeah, it's funny that you asked me that, actually, Ryan, because before this conversation, I was just looking through the new salaries. So the MLS Players Association typically they release player salaries twice a year, once in the spring and once in the fall. Last year with the pandemic, they decided not to release player salaries. So we've kind of been in the dark for the past year. And surprisingly, they just dropped the salaries this morning. So I've been a little bit this morning looking into that. I've already seen some analysis by fans and some journalists. But I'll be spending my next week and next couple of weeks looking into that more and looking to see what teams, brought in some good players on good deals. And, I think it's always fun to look at the difference between pay and performance. So throughout the season, we'll definitely be doing that and digging into it a little bit more.
Yeah, some interesting analysis to be done there, Bobby, for sure. My next question for you is about onboarding a player, bringing a player to the club. What exactly do you have to do for them? Do you have to find a house? Do you have to get them a car? To what extent does it go?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we want to make the relocation process as smooth as possible for each player. And we'll assist them with everything that you can think of. So like you said, car, house, and we'll take different steps for different players because they all have different needs. So players do receive relocation benefits through the league, but we have to guide them through the process. Working with a moving company, booking flights, securing hotels and rental cars when they do get to Charlotte. And we'll try to do all that work on the front end to figure out, maybe what part of town they want to live in Charlotte and what type of space they're looking for. And what's interesting too is a lot of people don't realize when an international player comes in, that work gets a little bit more amplified because they don't have a social security number. They don't have established credit, things that we take for granted. So there'll be a couple things that we'll have to prioritize for international players. If they want to go set up a bank account or try to buy a car and they don't have credit, that's an issue. So a lot of the work will be done on the front end with some partners, and then we'll just try to find the right neighborhoods for maybe players with families who have kids, find the right schools and healthcare systems. So all these things taken together and put together, it's a big process, but it's an important one to get right.
Well, Bobby, I know all about getting a social security number here. I just wish I had a team of people helping me out when I moved here as well. It sounds very helpful indeed for the players. What can you tell us about the timeline of building the squad? When players or any other staff might be coming into the team? Is there any morsels you can give us, Bobby?
I figured there might be a little cheeky question in there from you, Ryan. But look, I can tell you that we're on track according to our plans, and we're working hard to keep that momentum going. We have 4 players now. Our fans were super excited when we signed each one of them. And we're prepared to be active in this summer transfer window. So our transfer window in the MLS is from July 7th through August 5th. And so I'm hopeful that we'll be able to share some more player news later this summer. I can tell you that our scouting staff watches an incredible amount of games on a weekly basis, and they have found some interesting players. So I know that you may have been hoping for a little bit more info here, Ryan, but my lips are sealed beyond that point.
I expected they may be sealed, but it's good to hear that things are happening behind the scenes, Bobby. Tell me, one last question for you. Let's picture the inaugural home match at Bank of America Stadium. Team's just about to come onto the field. I'm just picturing that moment in my head over and over again. What are you most looking forward to about that first game?
I think obviously we're going to be super excited for the players and the fans, right? For that first moment of pure joy when the team walks out onto the pitch. The players really, because they, put a lot of trust in us to agree to come here and start this new club, and they're a part of history. They're a part of everything. So be super happy and thankful for the players. Obviously the fans and their support goes without being said. But I think also I'll be super happy for our staff, everyone who's been here and putting in the work day in and day out. And to get to that point, we still have a lot of work to do. And I feel like this year is going to fly by with how busy we're going to be, but it's going to be such a rewarding experience for all the staff to get to live through that moment.
It's going to be the start of the 22 season before we know it, Bobby. Thank you so much for joining us in the virtual pub today. Cheers.
Thanks, Ryan. Cheers.